Today we're going to be talking about the brand new Sensory Percussion Cymbal Sensors. This is something I've been looking forward to for a long time, and they're finally here. So we're going to take a test drive of the new sensors and look at a lot of the software updates that have been made over the last couple of years and get some first impressions on how these sensors work. So if you're new to sensory percussion, it's a really unique approach to electronic drumming. You've got these sensors here on the drums and now the cymbals, which pick up a lot of really nuanced information about how and where on the drum you hit to create something that's really realistic and expressive. Now, I previously made a video about this a couple years ago, and in that video, I go into a lot of detail about what Sensory is, what it can do, and how it works. So if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend you check it out. In this video, we're going to talk primarily about the new sensors and some improvements and additions to the software that have been introduced over the last couple of years. Okay, so I've got a simple setup here. I've got 3 drums and 3 cymbals with sensors on all of them. The cymbals here are the low volume cymbals from Evans. That's what the software is pre-programmed to work with already. For the ride cymbals and crash cymbals, you've got 5 different zones. So you got the main part of the cymbal, that's the bow. You got the bell, both with the shoulder of the stick and the tip. And you've got a crash. And you've got the ping. So they really thought of everything. It's just like with the drum sensors, you can do stick shots, you can do cross stick, different parts of the rim. You've got the whole thing covered, same with the cymbals. Now the hi-hats are also extremely expressive. You've got the full range of opening and closing. And everything in between. You've got the bell with the tip and the shoulder. You've got the shoulder of the stick on the hi-hat or the tip. You got pedal, you got splashes, and everything is chokeable. So 360 degrees, you can choke the cymbal at any point, and it's going to choke that cymbal. So it feels extremely realistic. The dynamic response is really impressive as well. So if you play quiet, it really feels like a real cymbal. Now, the software has also seen quite a few improvements and additions. So first of all, we have a cymbal sound library. They did an extensive amount of sampling of actual real acoustic cymbals. They've also added a ton of sound packs in general. So there's new acoustic drum sets. There's new electronic kits. There's new melodic kits and percussion kits. You can always go to Sunhouse's website and download more packs. You've also got some new audio effects which have been added. So there's a multi-band EQ, there's a stereo delay. So we've got some more options to choose from there. We've got an updated interface, which is cleaner and easier to use. We've got a search function, so I can just search for any sound. Let's say a crash cymbal. I can drag and drop this cymbal. Another super useful feature is hot swapping. This allows you to go through sounds very quickly. So I can select an element of my kit, let's say this crash cymbal. You can just kind of scroll through them here using these arrows. Or you could select this drop-down list and just choose a cymbal from there. I'm going to actually go with this Meinl dual crash ride because it's one I actually love in real life. You can also use hot swapping for an entire drum kit. So it's very easy to choose sounds and cycle through things quickly. So if you're a new user, you can do a lot from this home screen without digging under the hood and going into this edit screen. So that's something that they've done across the board, is they've made this a lot more accessible to the average drummer. Another really handy feature is built-in recording. So this is now part of the Sensory Percussion software, which means you don't need any kind of external DAW or, Logic, Pro Tools, anything like that. So just with the click of a button, I can go down here to this red circle here, push that, and now we're recording. And if I stop recording, I can go to this folder icon here, and it'll take me to the place on my computer where that file is stored. So it should be the last one here. And I've got the recording. Now, by default, it just records a stereo file of the entire mix, but you can also do multi-track recording and track up to 16 separate elements. So this is really, really useful, especially if you're new to this world, you don't have other recording software. You can do everything from within the Sensory Percussion software. You don't need any other programs to make this work. Another thing that hybrid drummers will find useful is the addition of grid pads. So this allows you to take something like an SBD SX or any drum pad and incorporate it directly into Sensory Percussion. So there we've got a grid here. You can change the size of the grid depending on what kind of device you're using. And this allows you to incorporate all of that into the Sensory Percussion software directly. That is one of the changes overall, is that the software itself has become a much more robust standalone piece of software. Now, if you do want to use other software, there's all kinds of ways to send MIDI out from Sensory Percussion. And if you're using Ableton specifically, there is an Ableton plugin version of the software which can live within Ableton itself. So you can use it just like any other VST plugin. And beyond that, they just keep introducing new helpful features. Like, for example, there's now a global set option. So previously you only had these kits to select up here, which changes like all the sounds on the kit. But you can now have this global set here, which has elements which never change. So let's say you have some audio inputs or MIDI outputs that you always want to have no matter what sounds you're using, then you can configure that in the global set and it won't change. Speaking of changing sounds, you've now got the option to use a program change message to change your kit. This is how I do it with my band Sungazer, is that we have a couple different laptops on stage, and one of them is running the master session and sending me MIDI information that tells my drums when to change sounds. Now that that's built into Sensory Percussion, I can receive a program change from the other laptop and it'll put me on the right kit for that moment of the show. They've also made it easier to share your kits with others with the collect all and save feature. If you're familiar with Ableton Live, then you know this feature already. It basically collects all the samples from outside the session into your session folder so that when you export it, all those audio files are included with it. Now, some of the more advanced features here are quite exciting as well. So we now have a hi-hat control modulator. So you can basically use the hi-hat opening and closing to modify all kinds of different parameters within Sensory Percussion. So you can see the software knows if I'm playing close or open. And you can basically take that little yellow guy that's moving around and map that to any MIDI parameter. Another really big update in the last couple of years is the addition of the pitch and scale panel, which is something you can access from almost any module within Sensory Percussion. So for example, we go up to the corner of this group here, select pitch and scale, and then we can already transpose it from right here. And I want to actually turn this into a scale or some sort of arpeggiation. And I've selected some notes here. So if I drag this slider, this note control slider, it's going to go up and down the scale, only hitting the highlighted notes. So now in the previous version of the software, it was still possible to do this, but it was a little bit more convoluted. So this pitch and scale panel greatly simplifies the workflow for this sort of melodic drumming using Sensory. So now we can right click on this slider and choose a parameter to control it. So I could control that with velocity, I could control that with speed, all kinds of different things. But I want to show you another new feature, which is called the random step modulator. You click the random step here. So now we're getting some random notes, only choosing from the notes that we've selected here. Now, there's quite a few useful options in here. So, for example, you can make it not random and just do a sequence of notes. Now, you can get some really nice musical effects by tweaking some of these parameters. So, let's expand our range to 2 octaves. Let's say we only want 3 notes. So, it's going to divide our 2 octaves into 3 equal parts. This already helps it feel a little bit less like beginner piano where you're always playing 1 3 5, doing everything in root position. But now it gets more interesting. What if we say we want 3.5 steps? And actually, kind of the fun of it is if you just start putting random values in here, you get some really nice musical patterns. It's just a nice musical sound. So this is one way to get that. And also just a really cool way to explore and find sort of random patterns that arise organically. Now, something that's really exciting, which is on the way in the future, is support for acoustic cymbals. Now, these are not officially supported yet, but rumor has it they work quite well already. So I'm just going to give it a shot. Now, right out of the box, it does seem to work already, more or less. Like I'm noticing it's not picking up all the zones here, but it is able to pick up the main part of the cymbal, the ride, bell. The hi-hat works pretty well, actually. And the pitch is mapped to the velocity here. Now, because it's not officially supported at the moment, you unfortunately don't have the ability to train the software on your individual cymbals. Now, I believe that is something that's coming, so we just have to be a little patient with that. But if you want to use it in a limited capacity with acoustic cymbals, that is possible already. So I'm extremely impressed with these sensors. This whole system is so powerful. There's really nothing like it out there in this e-kit world, to the point where, especially with these cymbals, I can easily forget that I'm playing a sampled instrument. If I were in a situation where I really had to be careful about volume while practicing, these would be an excellent solution. You know, I'm very lucky in this space that I can make as much noise as I want, but I've been in situations in the past where I couldn't do that. Years ago, I couldn't practice loudly, so I had a very primitive electronic kit with these awkward rubber pads, and it felt horrible. If I had something like this, it would be such an upgrade and feel so much better and sound so much better. I think it's a no-brainer. Now, I don't think it's a replacement for the real thing, and it never will be. That's also not the point of this. But in certain scenarios, I think this could be really useful. Price-wise, there's a huge range depending on which package you want to get. Like you can get an individual sensor for 150 bucks, I think. If you want to get the full thing, which includes like the interface and the drum sensors and the low volume cymbals, that's going to come in around 2,000 US dollars, which is not cheap, but it's also not the highest end of the prices for some of these e-kits. And for that amount, I think you're not going to find anything that performs anywhere close to this. So for that price range, you're getting an incredible amount of performance and also the flexibility to swap this out for an acoustic kit. And I think that's maybe one of the best reasons to go this route, because you can quickly just take off the mesh heads, put on some acoustic ones, and you're ready to go for a gig with a regular kit. You also don't need a very fancy kit. You know, I've got this incredible Pearl reference here, but you could also use Sensory with a very basic, inexpensive drum set. So whatever you have at home, you could probably convert it to a Sensory kit and have the flexibility of having your acoustic kit, but also having it be electronic when you want it to be. Personally, I'm most excited about the creative aspect of this. So using this for hybrid drumming, especially when the support for the acoustic cymbals comes in. Up until this point, I've just been taping triggers to the bottom of the cymbals. It doesn't work very well. It's not very stable. It leaves a lot of residue and stuff on the cymbals. and it doesn't trigger very accurately. So I was hoping that one day there would be a sensor version of this. Just the amount of sounds you can get from a real nice acoustic ride cymbal is pretty insane. So to be able to map that to MIDI parameters is something that's really, really exciting. So I'm very impressed with these sensors. I think they're going to be a game changer when they come out. This is one of the biggest updates in all of electronic drumming history. I think there's just been nothing that ever was able to handle the cymbals and the hi-hat, and they finally did it and they nailed it. So check out the links below for more info and to find out how you can get a hold of these. And huge thanks to Evans and Sunhouse for creating these spectacular instruments. Thanks for watching. See you guys in another video.